broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, welcome to Broman Field and to tonight's broadcast of high school boys varsity lacrosse, as it is senior night here for the Blue Devils. 9 seniors to recognize, and I think that they're currently being recognized as we speak. I'm Mark O'Connell, alongside Jeff Say, Johnny Krawczyk behind the camera. We're live tonight, and Nicole Wooten managing the technical production and part of this broadcast back at the studio at the Culpeper Media Network. Jeff, welcome aboard tonight. We see the Blue Devils. They've been real busy of late. This is 5 games in like 9 days now, and playing James Monroe. This will be our first look at them tonight as well.
And the Blue Devils are coming off a thrilling 5-4 victory over Fluvanna on Friday night, and now looking to carry on that momentum. Last time we saw them was against Fauquier. They took their licks against the Falcons, came back, was able to get a big win against Fluvanna, and now looking to keep that momentum going here against JM.
So, speaking of Fluvanna, the two teams that played, Fluvanna, the Flucos, and the Blue Devils have played each other twice this season. The Blue Devils won both games. We saw, as you mentioned, Fauquier and Culpeper play last Monday. After that loss to Fauquier, 2 days later, the Blue Devils lost to Liberty. And tonight, the first and only meeting between these two teams, James Monroe and Culpeper. And then next, 2 days from now on Wednesday, the Blue Devils will play the Mustangs of Meridian, formerly George Mason, and then they'll finally get a break, and they won't play again until May 13. And when they do, they'll be taking on Kettle Run, which, along with Fauquier and Brentsville District, really the 3 top teams in this district.
Absolutely. You mentioned Meridian. I was wondering that, looking at the roster, I'm like, I didn't recognize that one, so that's the former George Mason.
Correct.
Interesting. Yeah, so you mentioned that district with Brentsville leading the way, Fauquier being right below them. Culpeper is going to have a tough go against Brentsville. I think we've heard some really, really good things about Brentsville, and Brentsville handed this JM team a 19-0 loss. So from what we're looking at with JM, it's been a tale of 2 teams. They've had some close games, and then they've been blown out in all of their losses. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to Culpeper. We're watching them warm up, and it looks like Culpeper, if they're able to change their angle of shots, the Blue Devils have an opportunity to go low against the JM goalie.
Right, and we've identified him as Trey Perungsup. Interesting name. Not a household name in these here parts of the country. But we were watching him in the pregame drills, as you pointed out, and he really, Jeff, good reflexes, let's say, chest up. A little more suspect when the ball is low on the ground. That may be something that Blue Devils head coach Robbie Weisick already knows. That could be part of their strategy tonight, is to fire those shots, many of those down low.
Well, we know the Culpeper strategy is to use their speed, get those fast breaks, and get the ball to Jacob Roman.
All right, looks like we're going to pause for the playing of our national anthem. right, Jeff, welcome aboard again. And again, Johnny Krawchuk behind the camera. Nicole Wooten back in the studio at the Culpeper Media Network. So, Blue Devils tonight, I noticed, and I was talking to head coach Robbie Weisek, I like uniforms. I like changes, and tonight we're looking at them decked out in the all-white with the blue numerals. Now, from our standpoint, we're going to have an easier time picking up those numbers as opposed to the gray with the yellow. Those are sharp uniforms too. But Coach Weisek agreed with me. They have a really crisp look to them. He sort of compared those to UVA. They sort of go with that look as well down there in Charlottesville. By the way, and across the way, rather, their opponent, James Monroe Yellow Jackets, might be a little warmer tonight in those solid black uniforms, Jeff.
It was a little hot down on the field, and we were just talking about how weird this weather has been. It was freezing cold last week, and now very humid down on the field. So it'll be interesting to see how those black jerseys soak up that sun, and that kind of wears JM out a little bit. I was going to point out, Mark, obviously this is senior night, so a very senior-heavy lineup to start for the Blue Devils. So we're going to see some names that we might not normally see. Raul Franco is going to get the start. Finn Steffen, who's the German exchange student, he's out there. Number 24, Giovanni Corsaro is starting for the Blue Devils. And obviously Jacob Roman and Brandon Bonfadini, a couple of names that we've become accustomed to here this evening.
Well, of course, Jacob Roman, number 19. 9 seniors they identified on this year's team. So if you do the math, those number of seniors, well, pretty large group when we think about the number of players on this year's roster. So as Jeff pointed out, probably be calling the names of some players who previously we have not called much this season. And for the very reason Jeff pointed out, it is senior recognition night. So the Blue Devils are currently 3-8. And as we've mentioned, tonight's game will be game number 12 of the season. Then they'll play Wednesday at against Meridian. And they're going to get a break and not play again until May 13th against Kettle Run. I think that closes out the regular season, Jeff.
And Kettle Run's another tough team. We've got some good teams in this district, so it'll be interesting to see if Culpeper can get some momentum here tonight. Be prepared to finish the season strong as we head into playoffs.
Yeah, so we were last in action, last Monday at Fauquier High School, and Flying Falcons had their way, and yet, despite the difference in the score, I think Coach Weisek and his players, and we talked about it, they were able to take away some positive things from that loss, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they played really well. I thought in goal, Riker Simpson actually did a really good job. He stopped a lot of big shots, and defense I thought played pretty well. That's just how good Fauquier is.
All right, getting ready for our opening face-off. And they award possession to the Yellow Jackets to start things here tonight. First quarter, Broman Field is the site of tonight's game.
And Mark, I'll point out one thing I noticed right away is Jacob Roman is wearing number 1 again. He's worn 1 in the white jerseys and 19 in those sharp gray jerseys. So he changes it up on us, keeps us on our toes.
Okay, so he's back to number 1. But no changes in the personnel as far as Coach Weisek was concerned. Just that one change in the number. As James Monroe starts on offense, they don't keep it too long before they turn it over. But now the ball is loose, and let's see who's going to corral it. Losing his footing is that Blue Devil player there, number 30.
That's Finn Steffen.
Finn Steffen, right.
That's the German exchange student.
Yeah. Finn Steffen from Deutschland. Jeff, you've been there, haven't you?
I have not been. I've always wanted to go. I have a lot of German heritage. I'd love to go visit. I've been told it's beautiful.
Well, it really is. I went there when I didn't want to go, and then I've tried to go back there when I wanted to go and wasn't able to. So that's how life works sometimes. In fact, we were thinking about going there in, is it August or September of this year, and those plans that we had to shelve those. But it was a good idea, good thought, going back there after such a long time ago.
Probably trying to take advantage of some cheaper travel at that time.
Absolutely, and the party that had organized it had basically found that they'd already made their commitment and plans, and then there really wasn't room for more, and the fares had gone up since they had made those plans. So, things change like that quickly. Well, we're in the opening couple of minutes here this first quarter. We don't have a shot on goal yet. Blue Devils have not forced the ball past the midfield stripe to put any pressure down here on this JM goal. But now they are currently in possession. Let's see what they're going to do. They're going to try to get it upfield, of course, and the ball is loose. They do get it across the midfield. We've got players vying for possession, including Brandon Bonfadini, one of those 9 Blue Devils seniors who comes away with it. So Blue Devils will now settle down and try to work its offense.
I think we're going to see a steady dose of Bonfadini and Roman. I overheard the referees chatting earlier, and they were expecting to hear a lot of Roman's name out here on the field tonight, especially being senior night. You know that he's going to really try to take advantage of this feeling, of this emotion out here. It's his last home game to be able to capitalize on that, he and Bonfadini and the rest of the seniors.
So what you may be saying is that Jacob Roman, here's Bonfadini on the move. Jacob Roman, who wears jersey number 1, and he fires a shot that is saved from goal by this goalie for James Monroe, Trey Perunsup. We saw him again in those pregame drills. He looked good when the shots were chest level and higher. A little more suspect when the ball's on the ground. That may be natural, Jeff. It's hard to come up with those, I think, from a goalie standpoint. A little harder than it is when you're playing catch, from the chest up.
Right, and Mark, I'll note that obviously when we were watching him, he was just working with the coach one-on-one. It's totally different when you've got the defenders in front of you and shielding your vision. And so for him to make that stop against a very quality Jacob Roman shot there, I was impressed early on.
Yeah, and so we were talking about how the officials were mentioning the name Roman, how frequently it may be called tonight. And so Roman's wearing jersey number 1, and his name may be called more than any other to make that the number 1 thing here tonight as well. We'll see.
Well, I'm sure that Bonfadini, another fellow senior, might have something to say about it. We have 9 seniors on this team, so I know that they're all going to really be pressing here tonight. They want to come out on top. They want to really highlight their skill here tonight for the Blue Devil fans.
This is Bonfadini in the X going to work here for the Blue Devils. They've got 1 shot on goal. It was taken by Roman. Winding up again and taking a shot this time off the left side. And he finds that corner of the net. And it's 1-0 in favor of the Blue Devils. And Jeff, looks like it comes at the 7:44 mark.
That was Jacob Mills with a nice pass coming out of the X position. That was Bonfadini making that happen. Bonfadini coming from behind the X position, finding Jacob Mills on the right side of the goal, and Mills with a nice sidearm shot. We talked about them changing up the angle of their shots, and Mills doing just that for the first goal for the Blue Devils.
And Jacob Mills had just checked in a few seconds before that from the sidelines. Well, told you we're live tonight, and our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they're able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-7556.
Bonfadini with it again, and Bonfadini, as I mentioned, one of the seniors, he is planning to go to George Mason for college.
Yeah, and I think that I was just up in that area, not yesterday, but the week before. Went by George Mason University. There's a shot, this one taken high, and the goalie able to make the save. Ball loose. 2 teams will try to come up with possession as they fight for it. And James Monroe crosses the mid-stripe. We'll try to go back on offense here. Here's a shot taken, and it didn't look like it had a lot on it, but it must have been placement rather than pace. And it was taken by number 17 for JM, and that's their first shot on goal, and they found the net, and all of a sudden it's tied up 1-1.
Well, that was coast to coast right there. He was able to get the rebound off of Perunsup and then carried it the whole way down the field. Wasn't looking for a pass or anything. He knew that he was taking that shot. Nice little bounce shot, and was able to get it past Riker Simpson.
All right, well, this broadcast brought to you in part by Found & Sons, which is more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons at 825-3530. 6:45 to play, first quarter action. A little difficult seeing that scoreboard at this angle, and it's time of the day, Jeff.
That sun is beating down, but we'll see it slowly trickle away here. As I mentioned, I wonder how that's going to play against for JM in their dark jerseys, whereas Culpeper is strategically in their lighter jerseys.
Well, I think one of the things they have going for them in those black jerseys is they've got all kinds of youth. And that makes a difference when you're braving the elements, doesn't it?
I wouldn't last out there, but maybe a minute. I was sweating just standing out there, but of course I've got on dress pants and a long sleeve shirt. So.
Well, we're sort of dressed the same in that way from a casual work look with the sort of khakis and what do you call these shirts? Are they poplins?
Poplins? I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to call them poplins from now on.
I don't know if that's, I may be way off base. It sounds right. But in any event, we're approaching that midway mark of this first quarter, tied up 1 apiece. James Monroe back on offense. There's a spin move and a shot taken. Riker Simpson gets his stick on it and deflects it away from goal. This broadcast brought to you in part by Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, the keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. 547-3673. James Monroe keeps possession as they spread it out here some.
We've got a couple seniors on defense for the Blue Devils. Nathan Kuick is going to go to JMU.
Hard shot taken, and Simpson able to deflect it away from goal. Keeps it tied up 1-1, but the Yellow Jackets maintain control here. Thinking about it, now winding up and taking the shot. Again, Simpson either got a piece of that or hit that the cross post. Another shot. Well, no, that was going to be, looked like it was going to be a well-conceived play. They had a guy going toward the net, unable to get it to him, but his teammates bailed him out. And James Monroe now putting some pressure against that Culpeper goal, Jeff.
Nice defense by Jacob Ehrman, another senior out there, number 11. He was the one that broke up that pass and made it so the Yellow Jackets had to restart the offense here.
Well, this guy is in a pretty good spot. He got in between a double team and then unleashed a shot that went wide of the mark. So now James Monroe, like I say, getting a few shots on goal, and the more you take, the more likely you're going to find that net. So this is where you want the Blue Devil defense to force a turnover.
Well, the Blue Devils doing a nice job in that zone of giving them a little bit of room, but then cracking down whenever they're getting a little bit closer. So you see the defense there force a turnover.
Well, you know, the player looked like he'd made a nice move to the net, but he later realized he no longer had possession, and the Blue Devils come back this way. This is a little bit of an errant pass, and now the two teams will vie for possession. We got a whistle and white ball.
And that was Finn Steffen. That was Finn Steffen making that play, the German exchange student. They said this is the first year that he's ever played lacrosse. So excited to see him out here having a good time in his senior night. He made a nice play right there. Just I think he may have got a little too hyped up and missed that pass to Bonfadini, but the ball still has an opportunity to go to the Blue Devils.
Well, this broadcast brought to you in part by Cash Imprints, from shirts to banners and everything in between. Imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints. 317-1473. 3:35 to go. First quarter action. We're tied up 1-1.
I would say early on that they're pretty evenly matched, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if you're looking at the stats department, I mean, James Monroe certainly has more shots on goal. So they're certainly forcing the action here.
Yeah, they've been in the Culpeper offensive zone for about the last 2 or 3 minutes. So the Blue Devils are going to have to get a turnover, get it back down the field, and try to maintain possession for a little bit to give their defense a little bit of a breather. Roman, you see out there in that midi position, he's so good with his stick. We expect him to be able to jar it loose, but he's a pest, I think is the best way to put it.
Nice shot and a nicer save made by Riker Simpson. Keep this game knotted up at 1 apiece. Simpson, the outlet, comes down to Dylan Shiflett. And now this is Cole Plaster, rather. And Plaster can play a part in this offense. Here's his shot. He went to the ground. It bounced up after it hit that post. And now it's anybody's ball, the 50-50. And the Blue Devils going away with it, Jeff.
And that's Jacob Roman, but what a shot by Cole Plaster. You said it went low and then it bounced off that crossbar.
There is Jacob Roman. He worked his way, weaved his way toward the center of the field, and then set himself up to take that good shot. And he beats the James Monroe goalie, Trey Perunsup. And it's 2-1 now with 3:19 or 2:19? 2:19 to play in this first quarter.
A pair of Jacobs scoring for the Blue Devils here early on. Jacob Mills made it 1-0. JM tied it back up, and now Jacob Roman giving the Blue Devils the 2-1 lead. We said we were going to be calling Roman's name a lot. I was just talking about his defensive play there and what a good two-way player he is, and we see his offensive side as he's able to fire off that shot for a goal.
Well, and we were laughing earlier because the officials recognized that that name would be called a lot tonight too, from the sideline. They wouldn't hear us in the press box, but they'd be hearing it along the sidelines from the players and coaches.
That's what they were. That's exactly the phrase they used. They said we're going to be hearing that name a lot. So I know that Jacob's one of the better players in the district, and I think that the players recognize that, the coaches recognize that, and they're always telling their team to be on the lookout for Jacob Roman.
Under 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter, 2-1 Blue Devils. James Monroe will look for an opportunity to unleash a shot. And in close range, turned back by Simpson, and now the Blue Devils, looks like it's number 25. No, not Simpson.
That's Tucker Dean.
Tucker Dean, who corralled it for the Blue Devils. Down the field they go. Minute 20 and counting. Well, Cole Plaster tried to come away with it, and his counterpart, same jersey, number 2 for James Monroe, came away with it, at least for the moment. But as the ball is loose, Jacob Mills looks to take possession and does. Here is Mills.
Mills starting a little bit of a fast break there for the Blue Devils.
They slow it down. They take a shot. This one wide of the mark. Again, taken by Jacob Roman. Did we say we would call his name a lot tonight?
We did, and another, obviously a senior here tonight, Jacob Roman has committed to play lacrosse at Shenandoah University.
And Jeff, you've probably been over to Shenandoah a few times, haven't you? Here's Cole Plaster thinking about it, then backpedaling it, and they slow it back down.
Over the years, Mark, I've been at Shenandoah a little bit. Shenandoah obviously known for lacrosse and music. And baseball. They have a good baseball program, too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, I think Cole Plaster was trying to take a shot, and the Yellow Jackets actually came away with the ball going back this way. Final seconds ticking down. They may or may not be able to get a shot off before the siren sounds to signal the end of the first quarter. We'll see.
Well, good defense right there by Tucker Dean, coming out and defending, really pressuring that.
Well, there was a shot that was wide, and there's a sound that signals the end of the first quarter. With our score at Broman Field, Blue Devils 2, Yellow Jackets 1. We'll take a break and come back for the second quarter right after this.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
Welcome back to our broadcast, and at the start of the second quarter, we are at Broman Field tonight for this high school boys varsity lacrosse game between the homestanding Blue Devils and the visiting Yellow Jackets of James Monroe. And right now you're looking at the Blue Devil players and head coach Robbie Wysick there. So Jeff Say, Mark O'Connell, Johnny Krawczyk with you tonight. from Broman Field. Nicole Wooten back in the studio, the Culpeper Media Network. Talked about going live this year, and our live sponsor, Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they're able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-7556. Well, Jeff, before we have the face-off to start the second quarter, in sum, what did you see in that first quarter for our viewing audience?
Well, the Blue Devils defense really did a really nice job of being able to hang in there. We saw JM pressuring on the offense for quite a while, and then Culpeper stepped up. Riker Simpson made some big saves. Tucker Dean made a couple big plays. Jacob Ehrman really, I thought, did a nice job defensively of stepping up out of the zone and pressuring on defense. And then once they were able to get the ball to the Jacobs, Jacob Roman, Jacob Mills, they were able to score. So a 2-1 lead here. Goals by Jacob Mills and Jacob Roman for the Blue Devils. 1 goal for JM. 2-1 coming into the second quarter.
Another name you mentioned was Finn Steffen. And at what point did he impress you, Jeff?
Well, Finn Steffen, as I mentioned earlier, is the German exchange student. And this is his first year playing lacrosse. He had a nice defensive play, was able to get the ball up over midfield, and I just was impressed with his speed, and you could tell he was really having fun out there. So I enjoyed that. Looks like we've got a Blue Devil in the penalty box, Mark, as there's a power play to start the second quarter.
Well, if there is, it looks like it's going to be Cole Plaster.
It is. Plaster got nabbed, and now JM is working the ball around and trying to get their offense set up. I thought they did a really good job of attacking early on, and now they're looking for their shot as they're moving the ball here quickly on the power play.
Well, Jeff, I did not see a penalty flag. I did not know that Mr. Plaster was coming to the penalty box. But James Monroe is going to try to take advantage of it. They take a shot, and Riker Simpson has an answer. He has a save again for the Blue Devils. Now he'll stand behind the goal, and he'll look upfield for a teammate in good position to get this offense going. And guess who he goes to? It would be that fellow we know as Jacob Roman, number 1 tonight. He's wore jersey number 19 this year as well.
Well, Mark, I was just going to point out Riker Simpson has impressed me in his maturity and how he has stepped up this year. And one thing that has really impressed me is his outlet passes. And we just saw beauty coming down to the middle of the field to Jacob Roman to start the Blue Devils on offense.
And, it goes without saying, if you make an errant outlet pass, then you're setting yourself up for a situation where the opponent can certainly take advantage of it and find you where you're down defensively and take advantage of that.
And I almost mentioned something before he fired that off, and then I held back because I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to jinx Riker because he's been making those beautiful outlet passes all season long. And when you have somebody with the stick skills of a Jacob Roman that you can get it to and really have him start your offense, that's almost like a fast break itself when you're able to stretch the field that way.
And you got to figure that Roman is probably the preferred outlet receiver, don't you think?
Absolutely. But, you've got Brandon Bonfadini, you got Jacob Mills, you've got Cole Plaster that we mentioned. I think Cole is just now back on the field.
Right, penalty has expired, and Plaster and the Blue Devils go back to full strength. So they were able to turn back the James Monroe power play situation, Jeff, and keep the score 2-1 here in the second quarter.
Well, that was an odd little play there. The JM player was shoved out of bounds, but the play kept going, and I think he had lost the ball before he stepped out. Everybody kind of paused there for a moment because they didn't see it.
Jacob Mills on the attack trying to force that ball loose. Unable to do so at the moment. James Monroe trying to get it to a couple other players, but instead the Blue Devils come away with it. Taking the shot was number 11, Jacob Ehrman, and we had the save by the JM goalie.
Oh, what forechecking right now, though, by the Blue Devils. That really started here at the top. I think that was number 10. John Guillen started this whole series by forechecking, and then we see that again now as Brandon Bonfadini chases down. We get a penalty flag here further down the field, but the Blue Devils is doing a great job on the forecheck.
James Monroe controlling for the moment. There's a pass that's errant, goes out of bounds, and it'll be a turnover to the Blue Devils. Well, this broadcast is brought to you in part by Cash Imprints, from shirts to banners and everything in between. Imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints at 317-1473.
There's a slash on Bonfadini. He was caught as I was just talking about the forecheck, he got caught on a slash as he was trying to jar the ball loose right there at midfield. And now another power play, the second one for JM here in the second quarter.
So we've had 2 players in the penalty box. They've both been Blue Devils, correct?
Correct.
And JM trying to make a little bit of some offensive penetration, ran into a wall of Blue Devil defenders, and then coming away with it is Culpeper's number 11, Jacob Ehrman. As he did a moment ago, he finds a teammate down low. Ehrman gets it to number 10, that's John Gillen, and Gillen turns around one-on-one, and he's able to beat JM goalie Trey Perunsup to make it a 3-1 advantage for the Blue Devils. Jeff, how did you see it?
Well, Culpeper's defense made that one happen. Tucker Dean started that by hog-tying JM down on the power play, getting that ball loose, and Jacob Ehrman really strikes me as an offensive defenseman. What we saw him right there is be able to run the ball across the midfield, start that play offensively, and find John Guillen further down the field with a beautiful pass. Almost Chris Letang-esque, if I'm here to talk a little NHL playoff hockey in the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know I'm just going to drive Johnny crazy with that one. But that was a very Letang-like play by Ehrman to start that offensive goal for the Blue Devils. 3-1 lead for CCHS with 8:15 remaining here in the second quarter.
Message is likely not lost on Johnny as a hockey fan, but it was lost on me a moment ago, Jeff, because honestly I just don't follow the game close enough to know the players.
That's a little jab at all my little Caps fans here.
Well, you got to do the jib-jab thing.
Yeah,
and it works both ways, doesn't it?
It does. And, I wholeheartedly recognize that my Penguins probably will not advance out of the first round. I'm prepared for this. So I got to get my jabs in while I can.
Yeah, it's like a friend of mine used to say, yeah, you got to pick your shots. You can't take them all. You just got to sort of time them and take them at critical moments. Number 26 is Tucker Dean out there fighting for possession of the ball. And, mentioned this broadcast is brought to you in part by Found & Sons, which is more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. That's Found & Sons at 825-3530. And we mentioned we're live, and our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-7556. And Jeff, when you think about comfort level, this is about the time of the year where your AC unit's probably going to get some work.
It's always this time of the year that when I lived in town, my AC unit would without fail go out. So we're very lucky to have our friends like Able Heating and Air be able to come out and keep us cool during the hot weather season.
All right, timeout taken. 3-1 Blue Devils. We've had 2 Blue Devils in the penalty box. Each time, James Monroe had a power play opportunity. They were denied. So, in addition to what we've already talked about, have you seen any other advantage that the Blue Devils maybe have implemented so far?
I'm going to say physicality. Defensively, I feel like Culpeper has been way more physical. Tucker Dean has really inserted himself out there, and he has just physically imposed his will on JM. I was really impressed with him a moment ago. He's the one that started that play to Ehrman, and then Ehrman obviously finished it by getting the pass again. But defensively, it's really been a team effort. We've seen Culpeper's defense collapse. They've done a really nice job of being able to key up on the JM's offensive players and take them away from the ball. And that physicality, I think, is something that we haven't really seen from the Blue Devils too much. We've seen it at times, but this is the first real game that has really come together, I feel like.
Taking a shot on the run and denied by the JM goalie, Trey Perunsup. But the Blue Devils will stay with it here.
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit?
That's what I think of when you say Perunsup.
Yeah. Well, we do have that's German, right?
It is.
And you've got a German player.
We do.
Blue Devils.
That was number 10. That was Guillen again, and a pass coming in from that X position. That was Brandon Bonfadini, the senior. That's his second assist from that X position coming out to Guillen. Nice, another nice shot. Really, offensively, I feel like the Blue Devils are passing the ball well, Mark.
Well, that was a good play-by-play call on your part, Jeff. As I was actually thinking at the time about our fellow from Germany, Finn Steffen, Deutschland, and he said Gesundheit too as well, keeping it German there. But just wondering, he must be a natural athlete to make that transition into lacrosse, knowing that, it's the first time he's ever played.
And he's been, as we've noted, he's been the face-off specialist for the Blue Devils. He's been out there, battling the entire time, and you wouldn't think that this, usually your face-off specialist, somebody who's been playing lacrosse, since they were 9 or 10 and coming up through the Lacrosse Association, and somebody that Scott Found has worked with. And for Finn Steffen to be out there taking those face-offs, and he's only ever played the sport one season, I think is really incredible.
No, I think much of that about toughness and physicality. You've alluded to that earlier tonight in terms of an advantage for Culpeper. But the Blue Devils have used different players at that face-off position. Remember last week, Coach Wysick was saying, but that night they were getting back Sebastian Gabaret, who was their chief face-off specialist. So they've used some different players there. And as you pointed out, Finn Steffen getting his opportunity here in tonight's game.
We've seen them use some different lineups here. I just saw Dylan Shiflett, another senior on defense, helping out, and a nice play right there. I think that
defensively for the Blue Devils,
yeah,
that was Dean, wasn't it?
That was Nathan Kuick, another senior.
Of course, we've got Giovanni Corsaro as well, number 24, and he's one of the seniors, those 9 seniors mentioned in the pregame. By the public address announcer, the commemoration for these seniors tonight. 9 of them here playing at Broman Field.
And Nathan Kuick is going to be going to JMU for college. Nice defensive play a moment ago by Kuick. And before that, I thought Dylan Shiflett had made a nice play. And I wanted to point out Shiflett, wearing number 5, was introduced. And, they're announcing where everybody's going to school. And Shiflett is going to, and I quote, Hogwarts to play Quidditch. I thoroughly enjoy that. I want to ask him, possibly after the game, what house he plans to be for at Hogwarts.
Hogwarts is nationally renowned for its lacrosse program, isn't it? I'm just being facetious, of course.
I'm trying to come up with a Hermione joke or something Harry Potter-esque, but I'm sure if he stays away from the butterbeer, he'll be an extremely talented Quidditch player.
Well, let's check the clock, Jeff. What do we have remaining here in the second quarter?
We've got 4:42 remaining. JM getting the ball back there. Culpeper was forcing a little bit. They having some trouble getting the control of the ball, but the Blue Devils being up 4-1. This is the biggest lead that they've had, I think, in pretty much any game this season. So the Blue Devils getting the ball back, forcing turnovers, again being physical, and Jacob Roman really setting the tone out here tonight for the Blue Devils.
Now, you've mentioned some defenders who have stepped up for the team, and of course Riker Simpson has only given up 1 goal so far. Here is one cranked up from a distance, and this one turned back.
That was a good idea there by Guillen. He was trying to scoop it, and I think he was looking for number 9, Jacob Mills, and just kind of sailed on him. But the Blue Devils have been relentless. Again, when I mentioned that forecheck, you see Guillen chasing him there.
Yep, now he has to give way, and
there's the penalty flag.
Is this going to be for the slashing? Here's a shot on goal, easily defended by Riker Simpson. We'll have whistle, we'll have stoppage, and we'll have information. And you've got a player, it looks like, going to that penalty box there. Did you pick up the number for?
That is Guillen going to the penalty box.
Number 10?
Number 10. He went offside, so he was the one on the forecheck that I was mentioning, and I saw him cross the line when he's not supposed to because he's on attack, and they got him for having too many men across the line. So now it's a power play situation for JM, and now JM is going to turn the ball over.
With
3:32 remaining here in the second quarter.
And our score 4-1 in favor of the Blue Devils. Now, refresh my memory. Who scored first?
It was Jacob Mills.
Right, for Culpeper, Jacob
and then
Mills.
Jacob Roman, and then Guillen has had the last 2 goals in the second quarter. So far, the Blue Devils are on a 3-0 run since the 6:46 mark of the first quarter.
Well, I do like Culpeper's defensive effort. And you talked about the physicality. It's been an advantage for them. Here's some physical play once more. This one delivered by John Gillen. The scrub. Let's see, we'll come up with it. We got a player going down to the turf. That was number 6, Benjamin Roman. He's back up on his feet. Coming to the sidelines, number 30 is Finn Steffen. Blue Devils on the whistle and on offense begins with Jacob Roman, number 1. There he is. Here's Roman making a move. Left-handed taking a shot. This one went wide of the mark. Blue Devils run it down. They've got Jacob Mills, closest man to it.
Well, JM's defense did not collapse on Roman, which I was shocked about, and he had an open lane right there. This shot just went wide.
Oh, Mills was looking for a teammate there out in front of goal. And I believe that was number 6, Benjamin Roman.
That's Jacob Roman's younger brother. Benjamin, I do believe, is a sophomore. Jacob, obviously, a senior. We thought we'd see more of Benjamin Roman this year, but this is the first game, I think, since the Eastern View game, the first Eastern View game that I recall calling Benjamin's name. So we're interested to see if the Roman brothers can get anything going.
Well, this broadcast brought to you in part by Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. On the run, taking the shot. This one wide, high of the mark, actually. And we mentioned Battlefield Automotive at 547-3673. Late here in the second quarter, it's 4-1 in favor of the Blue Devils. Looking for a little bit more. And a quick release there by number 10, John Gillen. Won't get it done, but Jacob Mills is closest to it, going to inbound it for the Blue Devils.
That was off a Yellow Jacket defender. I thought that was a great shot by Gillen. Again, he's had a really good offensive quarter.
Here's Mills. He did get it to Benjamin Roman. He was trying to unleash a shot, got in traffic and lost it. Blue Devils keep it. That's Mills. Out in front, and a shot taken, and a nice save by the JM goalie, Trey Perumtsup. JM trying to come back the other way. Well, they could desperately use a goal right now, couldn't they?
And Cole Plaster, again, doing a good two-way job, being able to get back on defense and kind of break up that play and really take the Yellow Jackets out of sync. They had a fast break there.
Well, you've talked about the Blue Devil defense tonight. Collapsing and playing physical and keeping that ball out of harm's way. Riker Simpson has only given up 1 goal here late in this first half. This is Cole Plaster in a lot of traffic, and he manages to get away with it with the ball still in the web. Here's Plaster. Looks like that was intended for Jacob Mills.
I think Plaster is maybe a little banged up there. He seemed to be limping a little bit as he came out of that scrum. I was going to say I was really impressed with his ability to break away.
It was almost like he ran through the gauntlet, Jeff. That number of many defenders around him, he was still able to keep possession. All right, now here comes Gillen. Gillen takes a shot on the run. I think this is going to be unassisted. He scores to make it 5-1 late here in this second quarter.
And that is a hat trick for Guillen here in the second quarter, making a 5-1. Nice defensive play by Guillen and Finn Steffen to jar the ball loose. Steffen lost track of it. Guillen saw right where it was at, and then he made that play happen all on his own. You mentioned unassisted. He took that one in for the score.
Yeah, and the scoreboard clock's showing how much time now, Jeff?
That was 19. I had 9 seconds, but it looks like it's 19. They're trying to get it corrected. It's blinking 19.3 right now.
And I'm asking Jeff why, because he's got good eyesight. And not only that, my view is a little obstructed at this moment, but it is late in the second quarter. Blue Devils enjoying a 4-goal lead at the moment. Looks like the final seconds are going to tick off, and they do. So we have played half a game here at Roman Field. End of the first half, our score, Blue Devils 5, Yellow Jackets 1. We'll take a break for the intermission, and we'll come back for third quarter action. Keep it right here. You're watching Blue Devils Lacrosse on the Culpeper Media Network.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors:
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, halftime at Broman Field. Welcome back to our broadcast. Mark O'Connell, Jeff Say, Johnny Krawchuk with you tonight. And Nicole Wooten back in the studio, the Culpeper Media Network. So as we get ready to start the third quarter, Jeff Say, Blue Devils out in front 5-1. Want to recap the scoring and tell the viewing audience what your highlights for that first half were.
Well, highlights really quick, I thought was the Culpeper Blue Devils defense. I thought they did an amazing job of keeping JM away from the goal, doing a great job of being physical, of taking them off the ball, and then forechecking in the midfield I thought was really impressive. And that set up some of the goals. Jacob Mills scored first, made it 1-0. JM tied it up, and then Jacob Roman made it 2-1, and the Blue Devils have not looked back or given up the lead. They went on a 4-0 run from the 6:46 mark of the first quarter, and then John Guillen scored all 3 goals, a hat trick in the second quarter for the Blue Devils to make it 5-1 coming in to start the third quarter here, Mark.
Very nice. And to start the third quarter, of course, we have the face-off. We mentioned early on that Finn Steffen had handled that some for the Blue Devils, and right now James Monroe wins this one, which is a better start for them here in the third quarter as opposed to giving it back to the Blue Devils, because James Monroe was only able to get past Riker Simpson once in that first half. So we'll see if they do anything differently here in the third quarter. Try to put more offensive effort against that Blue Devil goal and narrow the gap between the two teams.
Well, Tucker Dean has been an all-star for the Blue Devils out there on defense. He and Giovanni Corsaro both, I thought, have done a really nice job. We see Sebastian Gabarette out there now. I think he's come in for Finn Steffen. We saw Finn earlier there on senior night in the first half doing a nice job, and now Gabarette coming in and getting some reps. But the Blue Devils defense passing it back to Riker Simpson. One thing we talked about was Riker Simpson's outlet passes, Mark, and how well they're able to get the offense going early on.
Yeah, a moment ago, actually, Jacob Roman broke up the play on defense to give it back to the Blue Devils. And we laughed earlier at the frequency of what we anticipated would be the number of times that Roman's name is called tonight. There have been some other players whose names have been called frequently as well. In fact, you mentioned John Gillen having a hat trick. Has he had a hat trick in any previous game? Not to my knowledge. Maybe, maybe not. Your memory of that is better than I. But so Gillen giving them some offensive production. Of course, Bonfadini, Cole Plaster, Jacob Mills, Jacob Roman. Those are the guys that typically, collectively, putting the pressure against an opponent's goal.
And Bonfadini, we've seen with 2 assists from that exposition, doing a nice job of really getting the offense going for the Blue Devils. But here we go. We see them once again on that in the midfield. Jacob Roman, we were talking about the forechecking, and then there's a ground ball won by JM. That's one thing the Blue Devils have done well tonight, and that's win those ground balls.
Well, the player was trying to crank one toward that Blue Devil goal, and it hit a wall of players. So Riker Simpson watched that one bounce harmlessly away, and then his teammates come back the other way with Bonfadini, number 3 right now, currently in possession in that X area for the Blue Devils as he's being marked up there one-on-one. Here's Bonfadini making a move, Now he backpedals and goes the other way. Let's see what he's got up his sleeve. He's going to try to sneak it in there off that wraparound. And the goalie did make the one save, but then on the rebound, it's John Gillen putting it back, and that's going to be the hat trick
Goal,
plus one,
number
Jeff,
10, John
for our man,
Gillen.
Mr. Gillen tonight, number 10.
That was just a nice play by Gielan to see that coming off and be able to get the rebound, because that was a hard shot stopped by, I'm going to mess up this guy, the goalie's last name, Percenup. And Gielan was able to get the shot from Bonfadini, and Bonfadini started that one again in that X position. Bonfadini coming around, the hard wraparound shot, deflected, and then Gielan being able to get the rebound. Good hand-eye coordination, I want to point that out. Nice hard shot to finish it off. 6-1 lead for the Blue Devils with 9:24 to play in the third quarter.
Then you note that Bonfadini had reversed this direction. He thought about coming around one way, went back the other way, looking for a little bit of an area to exploit. He found it. Here's a shot that Riker Simpson saves again for the Blue Devils. So once again, Simpson, to this current moment, only given up one goal in this game.
I would dare say that he is standing on his head. I've been really impressed with his play, being able to knock away some shots, but his defense, as I mentioned, have really stepped up and helped him out here tonight.
Monroe looking to spread it out as Tucker Dean makes a defensive play for the Blue Devils. And it's a nice work there to avoid not giving it up. It did get jarred loose, and it's going to be possession to James Monroe. Well, we mentioned we are live, and our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they're able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air at 718-7556. Third quarter action. Our score 6-1 in favor of Culpeper. The Blue Devils led at the intermission 5-1. So one goal scored so far here in the third. JM loses its stick, and then Tucker Dean comes away with it. They're going to try to force it from him, and Dean just keeps it out in front, and he makes the pass over to Bonfadini, unable to corral it. Bonfadini will fight forward again as James Monroe trying to come back the other way.
And picked off midair by Jacob Roman. Again, that defense, and there was Tucker Dean down there fighting for it, but Jacob Roman on midfield is doing a great job of intercepting that pass.
And Roman going back to work now for the Blue Devils. And this broadcast brought to you in part by Fountain Sons, more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Fountain Sons at 825-3530. This is Jacob Mills now in the X. Finds a teammate right there in front is John Gillen. Got one-on-one and centered against that goalie. The goalie
John Gillen.
Well, we've talked about it before. One-on-one opportunity favors the shooter. Where were the defenders there, Jeff? They just vacated the area.
Well, if I'm JM, I'm trying to find out where Gillen is the entire time. Gillen has scored 5 goals in the second and the third quarter. Nobody else since Jacob Roman scored in the first quarter. Gillen has put the Blue Devils on his back, and JM has left him wide open right there. Another wraparound by Jacob Mills, and instead of taking the shot, looking for his teammate, and Gillen doing a great job of hammering that one home once again.
And Sebastian Gabarret went back to the face-off specialty duties for the Blue Devils. This ball out of bounds. Telling you this broadcast is brought to you in part by Cash Imprints, from shirts to banners and everything in between. Imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints. 317-1473. 7-1 our score. So the Blue Devils scored 2 goals to none for the Yellow Jackets here in the third quarter. The score of the intermission was 5-1. So they have extended its lead to 6 goals. Seem to be comfortably out in front now. In light of how the offense is playing and how the defense seems to be thwarting a lot of these opportunities, and Riker Simpson playing well on goal. Now this one wasn't too difficult to defend because it was wide of the mark. But James Monroe go back on offense, looking for a player that out in front of goal, threw it in traffic, got away from the intended receiver.
And that shot was wide of the mark because Sebastian Gaboret had stepped up into the lane, and it looked like there was going to be an open shot, and then Gaboret magically appeared and took away that lane and then forced that shot to be a little bit awry. So again, the Blue Devils doing a really good job in the zone defense and then pinching down and helping out.
Like right now, as you're pointing out, Jeff. Tucker Dean, Giovanni Crosaro, combining some defensive pressure there and coming away with it. Looks to be Finn Steffen, number 30. Talked about him frequently in tonight's broadcast.
Yeah, Finn Steffen has really impressed me just with his energy out there. He's done an amazing job of just battling for those ground balls, and then you saw his speed as he was just taking off with it. Culpeper calls a timeout to get possession, slow things down just a little bit. But Finn Steffen, we were looking at his information earlier on. He wants to be an international businessman.
And if they call a timeout, we'll tell you this broadcast is brought to you in part by Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. 547-3673. And 7-1 our score. We were talking about just how busy the Blue Devils are going to be. So, Jeff, tonight they're playing, of course, James Monroe, and then two days from now, Wednesday night, they'll play Meridian, which is formerly George Mason, and that's going to mean 5 games in 9 days for the busy Blue Devils, and then they will get a break. And when they come back from the break, they'll be taking on Kettle Run. You know, they got a good team up there. Maybe not as good as Fauquier, and probably not as good as Brentsville District. We're probably the 3rd best team in the district at this point.
I would say they're the 3rd best team. Obviously, I think Brentsville is head and shoulders above everybody. Faukier's close, but Brentsville's just that good. Mark, I was going to ask, we mentioned it a couple times now, Meridian. Why did they change from George Mason to Meridian?
Well, it's just consistent with the movement to eliminate names that tend to be offensive to people. George Mason apparently had some history in his past that made people today frown upon his character and perhaps contribution, so they made the change. And there's been a lot of changes across Virginia like that. I'll give you another example. Stonewall Jackson High School in Quicksburg is now Mountain View, and that's the 2nd team in Virginia, and 2nd school in Virginia known as Mountain View. You know, the other and first Mountain View team is over in Stafford County, home of the Wildcats, and that's where Lou Sorrentino coaches a football team.
I was going to say that is where Lou is now currently, former Culpeper County High School head coach.
Sidearm shot taken by Mills. This one was wide. Yeah, so that's a big part of it. So been a lot of changes in that vein here in Virginia and elsewhere. But they did keep their mascot, the Mustangs, did Meridian. And I was trying to think of some other schools named the Mustangs. The only one that comes to mind readily is Monticello. So a couple of schools in Virginia by that name. James Monroe, the Yellow Jackets, we got a few of those across the state. We've mentioned the Blue Devils, about 7 of those. And John Gillen is the man who's really been in action tonight for the Blue Devils offensively. Jeff, I think you've got him with, 5 goals?
5 goals. How many Cyclones are there? Is it just Eastern View?
To my knowledge, it's just Eastern View.
Just Eastern View.
And there was an article about, what's the name of the school? Just opened up, and they were going to take on, their nickname is going to be the Cardinals, and they were supposed to be the first ever, but they weren't. So I had a conversation with the writer of the article. Wrote a great article, but he didn't realize that years ago, George Washington of Danville, and they're the Eagles, used to be the Cardinals. And when they changed the name, there were no Cardinals in Virginia until this new school opened up.
Huh.
And that's kind of hard to believe because the Cardinal is the state bird, right?
I was going to say, I'm shocked because the Cardinal is the state bird. I was racking my brain. I'm like, am I wrong on that? But no, it is the state bird. So I wonder why they switched from the Cardinal years ago to the Eagles.
Oh, you mean George Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what happened with George Washington? And I like knowing these things. It's kind of interesting to me. So George Washington of Danville, and they give you the geographical location because it was George Washington of Alexandria years ago. But anyway, here is Cole Plaster on the shot. This was wide. So George Washington of Danville, in time, joined with Langston High School and to become one. And what they did is they kept the name George Washington.
And they took Langston's mascot?
Langston's colors, like blue and gold, because George Washington, the Cardinals had been like red and gray.
Well, yes.
And then they changed the nickname to Eagles. And I think that was Langston's nickname.
I was going to say, so they took Langston's color and nickname and kept it to George Washington.
Kept it George Washington.
Okay.
And now when you say George Washington, you don't have to designate Danville any longer, because George Washington of Alexandria is one of the schools that merged with T.C. Williams way back when, 1971. T.C. Williams became the only public school in Alexandria when it merged with both Hammond and GW of Alexandria.
And then T.C. Williams is obviously of the Remember the Titans fame.
Exactly. They won that state championship in '71. Highly acclaimed, and that's they were immortalized with the movie.
Of which you've written 2 books.
Well, yeah, here's the shot taken by Jacob Mills, and he was able to find it. And, Jeff, this is what we were talking about. That this goalie for James Monroe is very good, Trey Perunza. When the ball is a shot and he has a chance to make a play on it defensively, say from the chest up, he's got really good hands, good dexterity. But we noticed that in that pregame, going to the ground with it caused him more problems. And just a moment ago, the Blue Devils took advantage of it.
Well, we wondered if the Blue Devils had noticed that or had a tape on that. If you go low against him or change the angle, the Perunza struggles a little bit. And we saw Jacob Mills score his 2nd goal right there. The Blue Devils had turned it over and then were able to quickly get it back. And then Mills able to change that shot up, go low, get a little bit of a bounce right there, make it 8-1 in favor of the Blue Devils.
So we were going back to the schools too, and T.C. Williams, if they haven't already, or if it hasn't already, is supposed to change its name as well. I don't know what it's going to become. So there are a lot of changes across the Commonwealth as far as the schools, and then there's, as you know, up in Loudoun County, I mean, that's a very growing county. It seems like they have a new school every 2 years that pops up there, so you got to sort of stay tuned, keep up to date with all the schools being established, particularly in Northern Virginia and particularly in Loudoun County. Well, Riker Simpson still, Jeff, has only given up 1 goal this game, but he's had some great help from his defensive teammates.
Well, they have, and we talked about them pinching down in that zone and doing a great job of helping out. But what a great save again, once again, there by Riker Simpson.
Yeah, his reflexes tonight, notably good, notably sharp. As Jacob Roman corrals it for the Blue Devils. He finds a teammate. Sidearm whip by Jacob Mills goes wide of the mark. This is what the Blue Devils are doing, Jeff. They're just really putting the pressure on the Yellow Jackets here.
Well, I want to point out that pass coming across from Kuick to Jacob Roman. Just beauty in motion, just so fluid. And then Jacob Roman, a great pass ahead to, I do believe that was Brandon Bonfadini. And Bonfadini went a little bit wide on that shot and then went back to JM, but just great passing, great anticipation by the Blue Devils right there.
And Jeff, I don't want to try to jinx it or anything, but it was only in the first half we had any players go to the penalty box. It was 2 Blue Devils, and the Culpeper defense was still able to turn back James Monroe and their power play opportunities. Here in the 3rd quarter, no one has visited that sin bin, as you call it, yet.
No, it's been a very crisp 3rd quarter. 3 goals, 2 by Gielan and 1 by Jacob Mills for the Blue Devils to make it 8-1.
And we're not done as Jacob Mills took the pass from Jacob Roman, and then left arm, side arm, he was able to whip it in there, and again, he went low. And I think that they're sort of on to the same thing we know.
I think they've picked up on that. And when they're able to get that low angle shot off, you saw sidearm Jacob Mills right there, and that is a hat trick now for Jacob Mills here in the game. This is the best game we've seen the Blue Devils play. This is the most team-oriented we've seen them play. They have done an amazing job on the fast break. Defensively, they've stepped up, and offensively, we talked it was going to be about Jacob Roman. Roman only has 1 goal. We've really seen Gielan and Jacob Mills, take on some of the responsibility here. So maybe they're focusing on Jacob Roman and allowing his teammates to step up.
But it's not like he's exited from the action either, because he's had some good passes and he's made some good plays on defense to break up and force turnover.
Well, absolutely. I've mentioned his two-way play. I mean, that is really what started some of these fast breaks for the Blue Devils, and we see him here at the top of the key getting things going.
Thinking about it, finding a player right there in front was number 8, Zach Dixon. Dixon had an opportunity, got away from him, and now the Yellow Jackets look to come back the other way. Let's check the clock again, Jeff, and see what we've got remaining here in this third quarter.
Well, about 30 seconds remaining, a little less than 30 seconds now, and the Blue Devils again doing a great job. That was number 24, Giovanni Corsero, coming out and challenging, and coming out on that forecheck. They had a fast break, and yet Corsero came up and took that play away. And now we see Roman starting and going back the other way for the Blue Devils.
Took the pass from Hewitt. Here's Roman. Does he have enough time to try to get a shot off? He's taking it. He does. He charges forward, unleashes a shot. That one looked like it was defensible, but Roman found the net, and a hapless Trey Perunsip watched it go by.
Yeah, Perunsip again being able to go low in that bounce shot, being able to get past him. We talked about Roman, kind of passing the ball, having his teammates carry the load here tonight, and now Roman getting into the act. This is his second goal, and he really started that from the midfield stripe.
And I just want to reiterate that even though we knew it and we know the officials talked about Roman's name particularly going to be called so frequently tonight, even though he wasn't getting the goals, he was making his mark in other areas as we hear the siren that signals the end of the third quarter. So 3/4 of the way here, done at Roman Field. Our score, Culpeper 10, James Monroe 1. We'll take a break and come back for the fourth quarter right after this. Keep it right here on the Culpeper Media Network. You're watching Blue Devils Lacrosse.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.
All right, welcome back to our broadcast at Broman Field. Mark O'Connell, Jeff Say, Johnny Krawchuk with you tonight. And it's been all Blue Devils, Jeff. It was 5-1 at the intermission, and now it's 10-1 going into the fourth quarter. So no offensive output by the Yellow Jackets, and strictly all Blue Devils. We talked about how John Gillen has scored, 5 goals tonight. Jacob Roman was in the mix with passing and defense, and then all of a sudden he's got a hat trick as well, right?
Roman's got 2. Jacob Mills has 3.
Mills has 3,
so
right.
Roman just needs one more goal for that hat trick, and I expect to see it here tonight, but he has really been stepping up on defense. His two-way play, his forechecking, doing a great job of winning the ground balls and getting the offense going at the midfield stripe.
James Monroe won a face-off, at least for the moment. See if they can keep possession. They've got a long, what do they call it, a tough row to hoe trying to come back in this one. I don't believe they can do it because they just don't have the firepower, particularly the way the Blue Devil defense is playing and the mix of players who've gotten into the offensive scheme of things tonight as well. And this ball got loose, and Riker Simpson able to easily take possession of it, and he finds his teammate Wesley Faxlanger.
Well, that's the first time we've called Faxlander's named tonight, and he is a player that's going to be going to ODU for college, another senior for the Blue Devils.
All right, ODU's nickname.
Oh, I'm nowhere near as good as you are in being put on the spot on these things.
I'm putting you at a disadvantage because you moved down from PA and you're learning the schools. ODU is the home of the Monarchs. Here is a rare goal scored by JM.
Goal, James Monroe.
Number 2. Now, how much time has elapsed since James Monroe scored? They scored their goal in the first quarter.
So 2 full quarters have elapsed. They did not score in the second. They didn't score in the third. They scored with the 6:46 mark in the first quarter, and that was the last goal that they had.
All right, so 10-2 our score, and we mentioned we are live, and our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. So will you see some maybe different numbers, reserve players coming in tonight? We've talked about Benjamin Roman getting some playing time. Finn Steffen is out there.
Wesley Faxlander we just mentioned.
Right.
I mentioned Jacob Ehrman. He's been playing really well out there on defense. He's going to go to Averett for college. Raul Franco is somebody else we saw a little bit of earlier on. He's going to Germanna Community College.
Yeah. So Averett, Jeff, is located in Danville, I believe.
I always see Pastor Dan Carlton, the Culpeper Baptist Church, writing about Averett. I think he has some ties. I think he's on the board at Averett, if I'm correct.
It's either Danville or Chatham, one of the two. I can't remember. You're in traffic. Blue Devils knock it loose.
How many high schools are in Danville? I feel like there's quite a few.
Well, no, there's George Washington. And then there's some in the surrounding area down there. And that's an area that I've never spent much time in. Never really had any personal connection to it. George Washington, GW as we call them, GW Danville. If you're from Danville, you don't say Danville.
It's Danville. It's Danville.
Danville. And it's not GW, it's GW. GW Danville, that's what they were called. Shot taken on the run. This one sails high of the mark. Blue Devils keep it. You were asking what about the schools down there? How many?
Yeah, I know it's a larger area, and it seems that there's a lot of teams that come out of that area. You mentioned George Washington. We were also talking about unique mascot names, and I remembered the Sharks of Colgan.
Colgan is the name of it. Yeah, because that's fairly new school in Prince William County. Not as new as some, but relatively new. But we never actually been there, have we, to Colgan?
I do believe that we were playing Osborne one year, and Osborne had played Colgan, and so this would have been, 2015, 2016, and they were relatively new then.
Right.
So they're 6 or 7 years old, but I don't know of any other Sharks.
I remember that because we were at Osborne Park.
Yes.
And they were saying that Colgan had just opened, and they'd taken some of their best lacrosse players over there.
That is correct.
So Osborne Park felt like, they were having a down year, of course. Speaking of Osborne Park, home of the Yellow Jackets, just like James Monroe, the Yellow Jackets here. Well, they had a goal in the first half. They get a second goal here in the fourth quarter. But it's been all Culpeper here tonight. And one of the things that we didn't really say yet, Jeff, and I know it may sound sort of corny, but one of the things I've noticed about the Blue Devils that through 3 quarters of play, they've just sort of played with some quiet confidence, really.
They really have. I mean, we've seen them on defense stepping up, making those plays, playing physical.
And then on the run, taking the shot, number 16 gets essentially one-on-one against Riker Simpson, and Simpson gives up his 3rd goal of the night. But it's coming later when I think you're starting to see a lot more, perhaps some of these Blue Devil reserve players in the lineup.
And Riker Simpson, I thought, has played extremely well, and his defense has done a really good job in front of him, blocking shots, playing physical, winning the ground balls. And we talked about the confidence. And I've really seen some confidence from Jacob Ehrman. We see him out there, number 11. Obviously, Jacob Roman has confidence, but Finn Steffen has somebody who's really impressed me here tonight. He's played really well. Sebastian Gabarette, and Tucker Dean, defensively, Tucker Dean, Giovanni Corsero, Jacob Ehrman, and Nathan Kuick have all, to me, shown a lot of confidence, a lot of skill, and a lot of physicality, and taking JM off the ball, and they have not given up the big scoring opportunities that we've seen a couple times in the past.
And one of the players that I just saw in the lineup, number 22, Raul Franco.
Saw Raul out there a little bit. A lot of the seniors seen some play tonight, and this has been a pleasant senior night for the Blue Devils. I think that they've performed extremely well and really have taken advantage of their spotlight here tonight.
I think that's well said. I think this is sort of scripted for them in a way, don't you? I mean, if you wanted your seniors to be recognized and have a good game, have one that they can really feel good about, looks like this is the one that's going to make that all happen.
I mean, we've seen, I think this is our 4th CC game we've seen. 2 against Eastern View, 1 against Fauquier, and then this game here tonight. Actually, we saw them against Orange. Or no, that was Eastern View we saw against Orange. I'm sorry. So this is our 4th Culpeper game that we've seen. This is the best game that they've played. This is the most team-centric game that they've played.
And they certainly have matched up real nicely against their opponents tonight. Clearly had a distinctive advantage, no doubt. Late in the game, James Monroe was able to get a few shots in, and then weaving through that traffic there and scoring, making 10-4 is JM. But I think Riker Simpson will be giving up those goals with those stalwart defenders still in there. In fact, right now, looks like the Blue Devils are going even deeper to their bench, Jeff. Number 28, Jacob McKinley checks in for the Blue Devils. And you'll probably see some other numbers as well.
And then 23, Aiden Curley coming in as well.
There you go.
So some wholesale defensive changes there for the Blue Devils. Interesting to see. Get some of the younger guys an opportunity, but I really like that.
Let me ask you a question. Is 6 goals a safe lead right now?
We've seen stranger things happen, I'm not going to lie, but I've been impressed with the way the Blue Devils have played defense. I don't expect to see them let up offensively. So I think 6 goals, I hate to jinx it, but I think that they are confident right now. They're playing well. I think that they're going to hang on to this one.
Well, it's really been with these changes in personnel in the 4th quarter that has allowed JM to make that sort of penetration toward that Blue Devil goal that they did not enjoy through 3 quarters, that's for certain.
Well, JM has gone on a 3-0 run here in the 4th quarter. They hadn't scored at all in the 2nd and 3rd quarters. So if the Blue Devils are able to hang on to this one, it's the work that they've done in those middle periods.
All right, watch out here in front. Had a little bit of action. Looks like Jacob McKinley had it and lost it. James Monroe was able to unleash a shot that did not find that Blue Devil goal. Well, this broadcast is brought to you in part by Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. 547-3673. Down to about 7:02 to play, clock ticking. Here in the 4th quarter, Blue Devils, Cole Plaster, spin move, takes it upfield, and we look at some of his speed there as Plaster takes off. And the Blue Devils looking for Jacob Mills. They find him. Here's Mills, bounce shot over top of the extended stick by the goalie there, JM's Trey Perunza. Blue Devils keep it. Mills going back to work. They slow it down here. Making a move, Jacob Roman. Here's Roman on the run, takes the shot, finds the net, and that'll break that string of, 3 consecutive goals by the Yellow Jackets as Jacob Roman scores. And, Jeff, I believe that's the hat trick for Roman.
That is the hat trick for Roman. So we have Roman with a hat trick, Mills with a hat trick, and Gielan with 5 goals for the Blue Devils. So offense being spread around amongst those 3 players, but I was just about to mention it's the little things. So that last shot was chased down by Gielan as he was streaking towards the goal, and so the Blue Devils have done a really good job of maintaining possession, and then once you're able to maintain possession, they're able to get the right shot, and we saw the right shot right there by Jacob Roman.
Sebastian Gabaret off the face-off looked to win it for the Blue Devils until the ball gets loose. Cole Plaster, or make that Bonfadini in the vicinity there. Get it back to the goalie to slow it down for JM. Well, this broadcast brought to you in part by Found & Sons, which is more than a respected funeral home. They support youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons at 825-3530. Jeff, I just had a thought. When James Monroe had those 3 unanswered goals and then Jacob Roman came back, it was almost as if Culpeper had said, okay, look, we know we've got a 6-goal lead. We're not saying it's not safe, but let's get a goal back right here, sort of stem this momentum they've established.
Yeah, it was an answer. That's exactly what it was. And in the past, we haven't seen Culpeper be able to answer like that. Here, there was no panic. Mm-hmm. It was a simple confidence that we're going to come down and we're going to score.
And we got a whistle. And we We got 5:35 to play in the fourth quarter. As they sort this one out, we'll tell you this broadcast is brought to you in part by Cash Imprints. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community. Cash Imprints, 317-1473. Here's a shot taken that Riker Simpson is able to deflect away from goal. Then it goes out of bounds across the sidelines there.
Initial stop by Simpson, assist to the post as it bounced away there. It's just when when your night's going well is when those bounces like that go your way.
And you know that Riker Simpson
Goal, James Monroe.
had great success through 3 quarters, and a little bit of lax effort there defensively in front of goal, and it allows JM to score once again to make it 11-5 with 5 minutes and 18 seconds to play here in this fourth quarter. They go back to the faceoff, of course, following the goal, and that'll mean Sebastian Gabarret for the Blue Devils. Let's check in some of these other players. You mentioned Wesley Faxlanger, number 21 is in there. Coming to the sidelines is Jacob Roman. Dylan Shiflett, number 5, remains in the game. Riker Simpson, of course, going the distance in goal. Sebastian Gabarret wins this one for Culpeper. Back to Jacob Mills. Something tells me that Jacob Mills and Jacob Roman and Cole Plaster, he's checking in the game, and Brandon Bonfadini, they'd like to get a little more offensive action for this one's out.
I'm sure, but you also got to play your game. You see Roman setting up their offense here. You've got a 6-goal lead. You want to hang on to it. I'm sure you want to be able to press the issue a little bit, but also you don't want to give up any errant passes. So they're going to play smart, and they're going to run their offense, and they're going to try to add to their lead here.
Well, and taking a shot was Roman, and making the save was Perunsup. A moment before that, Roman was able to get the ball down to Gillen for a close look, turn back, but the Blue Devils keep it.
And another evidence of this team play here by the Blue Devils. What a play by Tucker Dean just to reach across on defense and flip that ball back to a rushing Jacob Roman. And then Roman was able to send it back down. It looks like JM's going to end up with it again. But, man, that to me is just teamwork.
Sure is. 4:10, clock moving, fourth quarter action. 11-5 our score in favor of the Blue Devils. It really hasn't been this close, a 6-goal lead. It was really here in the fourth quarter when JM was able to take advantage. Not taking anything away from their players. I mean, they're playing hard, playing all out, of course. But they had a little different defensive look in front of them than they did earlier in the game, don't you think?
Yeah, it's 10-1 coming into the fourth quarter, and then the Blue Devils making some changes, getting some players in, getting some experience. So I think with a 9-goal lead, you can do that. You give up a couple of goals, and they still have a comfortable 6-goal lead with 3:49 remaining, Mark.
Well, it's a nice option the Blue Devils have tonight to be out in front where you can get your reserve players, really go deep to that bench and get your guys some quality time in there to play. Because this regular season, I mean, I think is it a 14-game regular season, and they've already played. This is game 12. So, I mean, they're deep into this regular season as Jacob Mills, making number 8, Zach Dixon scores for the Blue Devils.
Goal, number 8,
and
Zachary Dickinson.
There's a fellow that, whose name we haven't called much this year, and he's getting some playing time. He's got to be excited about scoring at this point.
I love the joy right there because he took the rebound. It was off a shot. I do believe it was by Mills, and then Dixon got the rebound and was able to turn around and, again, going low against
Tyler Perunsup.
Perunsup. Going low against Perunsup because we've seen that time and again when they're able to go low against him, and Dixon just showing some absolute joy out there, jumping up and cheering. He was so excited. You love to see that from a player when they score, and so he was just so thrilled and so happy for him.
Yeah, it really goes without saying. Had to be really excited about that opportunity because there haven't been a lot of those for him and for some other reserve players. But in any event, we're down to about 3 minutes, 2:58 to play. Penalty flag down. And, this second half, Jeff, has been pretty clean up to now.
Yeah, this is the first penalty in the second half. You mentioned we had the 2 Blue Devil penalties in the first half, and those were both killed by the Blue Devils. And then I think they both led to the Blue Devils scores. It was right after the Blue Devils came out and were able to score. What was the penalty there, Mark?
Well, I didn't see the call, but I know it was against Finn Steffen. He's the third Blue Devil player to be assigned to the penalty box. So James Monroe, as you, of course, go a man up here, will look to try to take advantage while the Blue Devils look to beat the penalty clock. Let's check the defense here as Gabarette marks up. Makes a check, but James Monroe able to keep possession. They're spreading it out a little bit, looking for an opening. When they take a shot here, this one got past Riker Simpson, and James Monroe makes it a 12-6 game. And they did take advantage of Finn Steffen being in the penalty box.
Well, they really moved the ball around well. They're looking for the right angle, and they found it and just really thread the needle, because you could watch that coming in off the stick. It had a little bit of curve to it and just went on the right-hand side of Riker Simpson and was in. But I mean, otherwise, I think Simpson has played an amazing game here tonight. He kept the Blue Devils in it early. Blue Devils were able to get up, and now having a 12-6 lead with about 2:18 to play, I think the Blue Devils have this one pretty much wrapped up.
He'd only given up one goal going into the fourth quarter, and then he had a different look in front of him, and then those shots taken by JM were high percentage shots for those shooters. Nothing against JM's effort, but I think Riker Simpson, I mean, it's just, it goes back to everything we've said so many times, is that when you get short like that in short range and it's one-on-one, it's hard for a goalie to stop a shot like that. And that's what I think has happened. Riker Simpson had a heck of a game for the Blue Devils. And you've mentioned some of the efforts by the defenders and the offensive distribution and so many different players in the mix for Culpeper tonight. As we're down to a minute 45 and counting in this one, we've told you this game that we're live, and our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. A minute 30 to play here in the fourth. 12-6 Blue Devils, and this is Jacob Roman going to work, turning around and firing, and this one got away from him. And his teammate over there, Cole Plaster, has run it down.
Mark, I'll say one thing I've been really impressed with is how aggressive offensively the Blue Devils have been. We've seen it here all night long that they've done a really nice job of taking the shots, not hesitating.
Yeah, and here's a shot taken by Gillen and a save by Perunsup. I think if you're Riker Simpson, he's got to be pretty pleased right now. The action's out the other end of the field.
Absolutely, and again, forechecking once again there by Brandon Bonfadini. Bonfadini stripping the ball away. This has been something the Blue Devils have done well all night long. And again, we mentioned, Perunsup made a nice save there. Anytime the ball's coming in chest high on Perunsup, he is able to have a beat on it. But if they're able to go low and change the angle, the Blue Devils, that's where they've been successful tonight.
Jacob Roman on the run, and then another save by Perunsup. And a flurry of action out there vying for possession, and it looks like James Monroe may come away with it as the two teams give chase. In traffic.
William Schmidt, that's another new name.
Well,
William Schmidt.
Is he number 14?
Yes.
I was about ready to say we've got a new player in there, jersey number 14. And now he's in the mix, and we're down to what, 15 seconds to play?
And the clock is running. Now I think the Blue Devils and Cole Plaster and the exposition are just going to be content to run this one out.
That's Cole Plaster. Check from behind. The stick check knocks it loose, but no harm, no foul, no change. End of the game. Blue Devils 12, Yellow Jackets 6, and they'll celebrate, and they'll go congratulate Riker Simpson for a job well done in goal.
And I think that whole defense needs to have kudos because they all played. I mean, I could run through the entire list, but I mean, really, Tucker Dean stands out to me. Giovanni Carcero, Jacob Ehrman, they all played. Finn Steffen in midfield, they all played extremely well. Nathan Kuick on defense. So that entire defense, I think, set the tone. And we mentioned it was 2-1 at the end of the first quarter, and then the defense did not give up another goal in the second and third quarter, and then the offense was able to take that opportunity and really just run with it. Guillen scoring 5 goals for the Blue Devils. Jacob Roman with a hat trick, Jacob Mills with a hat trick. Offensively, the Blue Devils were extremely aggressive, and they just did a great job of playing within themselves.
Well said, Jeff. Excellent analysis, and you did a great job for our viewing audience again tonight, really explaining the how and why, what was going on out there for the Blue Devils. So well done. Well, enjoyed calling the game with you tonight. Certainly enjoyed calling it for the Culpeper Media Network. We hope the viewing audience enjoyed it. Big win for Culpeper. Once again, our final score from Broman Field. Blue Devils 12, the Yellow Jackets of James Monroe 6. For Johnny and Jeff and Nicole back in the studio, I'm Mark O'Connell saying thanks for watching and supporting Blue Devils Lacrosse on the Culpeper Media Network. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
This broadcast is brought to you by the following community sponsors.
Able Heating and Air, answering any and all questions you may have about your HVAC system. There's peace of mind knowing they are able to keep your home comfortable. Able Heating and Air, 718-7556. Battlefield Automotive, featuring Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. Battlefield Automotive, a keystone of service and a cornerstone of our community. From shirts to banners and everything in between, imprint your message on the community with Cash Imprints, 317-1473. More than just a respected funeral home, Found & Sons supports youth at all levels so they can become tomorrow's leaders. Found & Sons, 825-3530.